in his chair.
Yeah, he just got up and left.
Right. I had to turn the light box down.
Welcome to the Sigma Show, everybody. It's me, your host, Sigma. Welcome to episode 116 of the Sigma Show. If that sounds weird, it's because I was thrown at the start of this. But before I let you know who threw me, we're going to talk about what our topics will be this week. First up, there's some updates on Unity's runtime fee, which caused a lot of hubbub and was the main topic of our last week's show. It's a little updates on kind of what Unity has landed on in terms of walking it back. And finally, the CMA has granted what's called preliminary approval of the Xbox Activision Blizzard. This is positive in that things may actually finally close for Xbox. Positive for them. I know Jesse's shaking his head, but I mean, it's a positive outcome for Xbox. So we'll see kind of maybe what... We'll dig into a little bit of what that means for the future Xbox, but it's a conversation we've had multiple times before, so I don't suspect we'll spend a lot of time on either of these. So what you'll likely get is a lot more talk about what we've been up to. And here to talk with me about such things today, Jim8, also known as Design Delve.
What's up? Hit me.
As well as Rexicon Jesse.
Ah, that is me. That's not your mate or Sigma Gears.
Nope.
It's just me.
Nice. Welcome, everybody. Welcome. Glad to have you back. I see you in the chat, Lampy.
Hi, Lampy. Lampy says, we ain't seen nothing yet in Dokapon Kingdom.
That's crazy because that game has that. Well, let's jump right into it then. I guess I can start by saying, yeah, we played Dokapon Kingdom Connect for the first time last night for game night. It was me, Jesse, Frost, and Marty, and that game is insanity incarnate.
Yes.
So you need to fill me in. What is this game?
So Dokapon Kingdom essentially is a mashup of Mario Party. Like that's kind of its core roots. It's like, oh, this is like Mario Party, but instead of mini games to decide, the outcomes after turns, blank spaces are filled with JRPG like turn-based battles, very simplified ones. But it also has this Monopoly element on top of it, where you're on like a very big, almost united, like just the entire world, like geography map almost. And you are fighting to beat monsters and take back control of towns, which then adds those towns to your list of assets. And then those assets are worth money, and you're essentially trying to have the most money at the end of the game, which who knows when that is, because like how long does this have to play out for you to actually reach
This sounds awesome.
a conclusion? It actually is awesome. I was very surprised at how much fun I was having at this, because Mario Party is fun. But it is a very kind of cheap feeling experience by the end of it. It's like, all right, none of this actually matters. Like we're goofing around and stuff, but the game is kind of just a catalyst for the people to have fun with each other.
Yeah.
Dokapon Kingdom is fun in its own right, but also has that element of getting people to goof around and have fun together.
Yeah,
I had a
that
blast.
sounds good apart from the price. I just saw that it's like 40 quid. That's quite a lot.
I don't know. I don't think that's that bad.
I'm going to be honest.
You just described it as a cheap feeling experience.
No, I said Mario Party is a cheap feeling experience.
Oh, sorry.
Dokapon Kingdom is a much more in-depth version of what Mario Party is trying to do.
Okay, well, I'm assuming everyone has to own it to be able to play it.
Yeah,
it's not one of those, like one person owns it and 5 people can local multiplayer.
I think there is local multiplayer though, right?
I don't know.
Can you
Let me
Steam
see.
I know that there's an offline thing, and that game definitely does not work solo. I can't imagine how you play that game as a single player thing. I don't think it has a single player thing, does it? I don't know actually.
I bet you could play with AI.
AI,
yeah, maybe.
Steam Cloud, remote play together. There's remote play together.
Well, boom, yeah, that solves that problem.
One person will have to buy it, I think, and then maybe you can play it with your friends.
Yes,
That's assuming you can get
Four
remote
ways.
play together to work properly.
It's worked
Recently,
more
I've
often
had
than it hasn't.
good things with it, so might be worth getting.
Yeah, it's a real crapshoot. I would say like it's about a 70% of the time works when I try to do it.
Okay, yeah.
Oh, Lampy says there is a solo mode without AI.
Oh, so it's just you fighting everything.
Yeah, you just fighting stuff and taking the towns, I guess.
But one of the things that made it so wild is that it explains nothing. So we got the pitch of like Monopoly, JRPG, Mario Party, and we're like, okay. And then we start and we're like moving around and you have to pick classes. And it's like, all right, I Marty and Frost pick thief.
Hmm.
I pick mage. Casey picks warrior. Okay, what does that mean? Don't know. Sure, we'll learn. No, we did not learn.
We
But
learned one
thieves,
thing is that certain weapons grant certain bonuses to certain classes.
that's true. And some of the classes we don't even have yet.
Yeah, like they're
So
just hidden classes somewhere.
yeah. So like, but I get passed. So like, I get a spell because I land on a space. It's like, here's a spell, and I'm like, okay, thank you. I don't even know when to use this. It has told me nothing. Frost moves past me on the board and steals my spell. Why? Probably because he's a thief, but I don't actually know that. Like it continually adds new mechanics, and like you'll run into NPCs and they'll have side quests, and then they can give you side quests, and then you die and you lose your quest item, and you're like, well, crap. Like, what do I do now? Like, there's so many things that it just keeps throwing at you. I was gifted an entire town that Frost had liberated.
Yeah, Frost defeated an enemy in a town and it basically put it in his assets.
Yeah.
Jesse did the same. And the king announced as a reward, Frost was giving Jesse one of the kingdoms he claimed. And it's like, Frost didn't initiate this. So why did this happen?
Like, there's no context. It is, if you've seen Yu-Gi-Oh, like the first 3 seasons of Yu-Gi-Oh, where they're just like making up rules as they go, that's what it feels like. And I kind of love it.
This makes me just want to play it, honestly.
Oh, you should. It was so fun. Like, I was getting trounced the whole game. Like, nothing was rolling or going in my favor.
It really was.
Like, I don't know why. Like, everyone else was like destroying enemies that they came across. I died to a level 1 Cobalt. He just wouldn't be hit by my attacks. Like,
You just missed.
yeah, like every time, because that's just what that's what JRPGs are, right? Just just random nonsense all the time. But it was so much fun still. Like, I would highly recommend it if you got like a group of friends, do the remote play together thing, like split it 4 ways, like get a session going, because it is pure fun as chaos.
That sounds like something me and my friends would love, so I'm tempted.
Someone was mentioning that they said the games were like 20 to 30 hours for a round or a game, is what Tyrell says.
That is a lot.
I mean, considering we were 2.5 hours in and we are still in the first area.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, I can believe that.
That sounds mental.
And it does save your progress, so when we pick it up, we'll be
able to get
where we
continue
left off. Yeah, it's not like Mario Party where it resets to 0 every time.
Yeah, and it makes me curious, like Mario Party has always been fun, right? But like it's a really again, like it's a very bite-sized experience. Like, it's very simple in its execution of what it's doing. Dokapon put so much extra stuff into that core concept that I'm only just now realizing how brilliant of an idea it actually is. Like, it's so much fun to have a virtual online connected board game in that way, where like wild, insane nonsense stuff can happen like that, where it feels like a video game and like a family time, like a household board game type thing. I'm shocked that there aren't more copycats that have done this.
Yeah, sure.
My thought being it might be just kind of a hard sell of like, you need so many elements to make a board game fun, and then you also need so many elements to make a video game fun, and then you need all these elements to make getting together with your friends and doing it together fun. That like that's 3 areas that have to perfectly sync, and if you think one of those isn't going to line up, you'll probably pass on it.
Yeah, there's a lot of work.
But also, yeah, it's brilliant, and more people should play it. And I would like to see more games like this.
Yeah, I had a lot of fun. I kind of want to keep our session going, but
I do too. I was a hoot. I might rope my partner into it to see if we can play a separate game together
for 30 to 40 hours.
Yeah, maybe when we finish Bloodborne, we'll try that.
Yeah, what a juxtaposition to go from Bloodborne to
Dokapon Kingdom.
Dokapon Kingdom, yeah. Yeah, I definitely want to check that out. It sounds great.
Yeah, I don't think I mentioned this at all here, but I did finally get into a little bit of Starfield. I did not have a great time. Like, if I'm just being honest, I only played about 2 to 3 hours of it so far, and I know I keep hearing from everyone that the game really takes off after several more hours, like 6 to 12 or something like that. But like it, there's got to be
6 to 12.
Yeah, I'm gonna say I think my next video is on it.
Uh-huh.
I've put a lot of hours into it, and I'm gonna say that's copium. That's like
Yeah.
I think it's people that after 10 to 12 hours, the sunken cost fallacy
Okay.
kicks in.
This okay.
So then they're like, oh yeah, it's good now. Like,
yeah, because I don't feel like, at least from what I've played so far, I don't feel like Starfield is very good. Like it feels so much older than it is, and the game looks great. Like I was surprised at how much better it looks than like anything Bethesda's put out beforehand. But things like NPC behavior, movement, like just the way they're placed on a map looks so fake. Like those worlds do not feel lived in
they
or
look
alive.
like placed assets.
Yes.
It looks, watching footage of it, especially from a highlight reel, which is a delight of a show. It looks exactly like I remember Fallout 3 looking. Like the graphics are better, things are fancy instead of run down, but like that enemy placement, the head moving, the like hello, and like gonna keep walking
Yeah.
as I get, like all that reads exactly like Fallout 3.
Well, everything, the combat, the dialogue, the movement, just everything feels very 2010. And
Yeah.
they I talk about it in my next episode, but they trade all of that for scale. But the scale of it in it is not interesting. It's like you can have the biggest game ever, but if it's not entertaining or fun to explore,
it's
or
kinda
has
just
variety,
wasted
then what's
space
the
in that
point?
case. Yeah, it's unfortunate because like I really like the sci-fi setting, but like the world they've built, at least so far, feels devoid of anything interesting. It's like they really, like, this game was made for people who have dreamt of living out like some sort of Star Wars or Star Trek-esque adventure. And like I just want to have a ship and I want to be in outer space. And it's like, okay, have at it. Like they wrote a bunch of, little interesting stories all over the place, but the core conceit of you just being a space explorer, there's no real drive or motivation behind that plot. Like the game tells you there's a mystery out there and you have to go find it, but they don't give you any real incentive to want to do that. And like I just have a full on disconnect from the character I have in game.
Or make the mystery interesting. Like I am not a big fan of Bethesda's games in general. But this is their weakest opening they've ever done. Like there's very little interesting about, you find a space rock and it gives you a vague vision.
Yeah, like at
of
least
nothing.
the vision could have been something intriguing, right? It's just lights and
Like a person asking for your help or saying,
yeah, like something like
something to hook you rather than, oh, did you see Pretty Lights and hear music? Yeah, that's interesting, isn't it? Yeah, go find that. It's like, no, I'll go do something else, thanks.
and
Pretty
like
lights and music. So you're just gonna go to a concert?
That would be interesting. If it was literally the game open and they were like, there's a concert happening on the edge of the universe, get there, I'd be like, let's fucking go.
yeah, like okay, I'm intrigued now.
Yeah.
And like this was a thing that bothered me with Cyberpunk when I played it back when it first released as well. And we'll get to that later because I did play a little bit of Cyberpunk's new 2.0 stuff. But like the dialogue options that your character has, especially since your character is not a voice protagonist, feels super disconnected from anything I would want to do. Like it has a decent character creator, I'll say. I made a character that looks vaguely like me. So like I was like, all right, I'm gonna try to play this as if I'm in these shoes, but it's like the character will say stupid shit, like in response to what other people are saying. Like for example, the vision thing. Like one of the options is like, oh, it blew my mind, or like it was one of the craziest things I've ever. I'm like, no, it wasn't. Like, why would this be an option here? Like, is that what you think of what you showed me? Like, it's just constantly pulling me out of the situation.
Yeah.
Does it do the Fallout thing where I haven't played Starfield, so like your intelligence or a certain stat affects what dialogue options you have?
Yeah,
A
but
little bit.
they're not deep. Like
Oh, okay.
Fallout has been well known for having really, really terrible illusion of choice. Like it will give you another option. It will give you two options, and one seems completely different. But when you click the second option, it just says the original thing. It
Yep.
just makes you think you're picking something different, and you don't realize that unless you look at it back to back.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, or like there's a really famous one in Fallout where this character asks you a question, and one of your responses can be just like no, and your character responds "fuck you," which is not what I was trying to say. It's still hostility. Yeah,
Entirely different tone.
very blatant, the illusion of choice in this. It's not incredibly well done, in my opinion.
Like I still want to give it a try despite all this, because I know I'm just not very deep into it. Like, but it is problematic how much of a problem that game makes trying to suffer through it, because not only are its gameplay conceits kind of off-putting and a little boring at the outset, but like its menu systems are terrible. It doesn't explain basic things to you, like how to assign weapons to like easy to reach locations. Like I was jumping into my menu constantly to switch between like pistols and machine guns, in what felt like this can't be a game that's a first person shooter, because the shooting seems so far from any of the basic controls in the game.
Mm-hmm.
And like,
yeah, it's mental. The UI was crazy. I had this really weird like we'll get into like what some information about my next episode when we get to what I've been doing. But like I was gonna make this episode just like me listing off all of the things that Starfield has just like fucked up on, because there's so many that I noticed in the first like 5 minutes. UI being a huge one.
oh my god, it's bad. It's really bad.
Yeah, like if you use mouse and keyboard, when it says, "Oh, go equip your weapon," your first thing, and you go into the menus, there's no like signifiers for what you should be doing. It's like, because it's a radial menu in the menus for a controller. When you do it with mouse and keyboard, it makes no sense, because you have to go to the exact corners of the screen to have it show you that it's a radial menu. So if you're just moving your mouse around, it doesn't tell you anything. It's well, it was in the pre-release. They may have changed that. But it's just, yeah, it feels sloppy. It feels like they've put more time into other areas, and the areas that they have put that time into have not been worth it, or also well done.
Or like the start and outset of the game was like one of the last things they worked on, and like we got to get this out, so let's just slap the conceit together, and then you can go out into maybe the sandbox that they built that actually is fun. I don't know,
right? Like that is something that game designers do. They build out the meat, and then to better have the beginning connect to that meat, you do that last. And you do it last because it's meant to be the most tight thing that you design. Is meant to be that, right? You're meant to be planning it since the beginning, then implement it last and have it be polished to hell. I think you're completely right. They were just like, oh god, we haven't done an opening. What do we do? The rock sings at you. No. And a dude just gives you a ship. A dude gives you an entire spaceship.
Just
whole ship.
Yeah, he just gives it to you. He's like, oh yeah, well you're the rock man, so you're special. Just take my ship. I'll stay on this mining moon. I'll just chill here.
Yeah,
he must have been playing Dokapon Kingdom, and the king was like, hey, good. He just gave you a ship, and that guy was like, what?
That tracks.
Yeah.
That's a better explanation than what Starfield actually.
For sure.
But yeah, so been lamenting that, but still entertaining the idea of going back, especially for like some folks in chat have been saying, like if I can just port my save over to the PC version and then maybe make use of some mods, maybe I'll have a better time. But yeah, that does seem excessive, especially when there's so many other things to play. Speaking of which, I jumped into Cyberpunk's 2.0 version. Like the DLC's not out yet, but folks have been suggesting that you just start a new save file because of all the changes that are coming, and like kind of just getting back used to everything that's going to be in that Phantom Liberty DLC. So I did that. I started a new save. I did beat Cyberpunk previously. What I'm curious about, did either of you play Cyberpunk at all?
I've been waiting for this moment.
Okay, so you were holding off.
And it was a struggle, and I knew that this was going to happen. There's no way that CD Projekt Red would just let this project die, that they would just be like, oh, whatever. I knew they'd come back and like do this a No Man's Sky patch. So I was just like, I'm gonna wait for that. So I'm looking for the time to jump in, and I'm excited. And you felt good things?
Yeah, honestly, but I haven't gotten to anything super new yet. Like
Okay.
the only thing that I feel like I hadn't seen before is because I did the Street Kid opening, and like you had like 3 paths at the start. Like you can either be a corpo, a nomad, or a street kid. I did Street Kid the first time around. I picked corpo this time to see how different it was. And for some reason, I thought that all three of those things started in like a very similar place, and that the background just affected certain dialogue choices. I had an entirely different first like 20-25 minutes or so.
Oh, crazy.
Like I was actually in like a corporate building. I had a boss, and like there was like interesting stuff happening in the corporation that I was getting into before they fired my ass at the end of it. And then the stuff I remember from the Street Kid intro came in. And like so I'm wondering if all the things just had a slightly different thing at the start and then this shared thing before the actual game starts.
Yeah.
I think that's how it is,
That is-
from what
okay.
I've heard. That like that opening is pretty different depending on, and you'll have different options throughout because of your
Because of the background, right? Okay.
Yeah. That's another illusion of choice thing. That's a divergence, across divergence. Like because King Dead said illusion of choice at the beginning. I have a 3-part series on the illusion of choice, King Dead, if you want to check that out on The Escapist. But yeah, like the opening of this is a perfect example of that. Of the game is ultimately going to the exact same point. You're just seeing a slightly different beginning that will not have an effect on
Right.
the grand scheme of the game, but it makes it feel like it is, which is the important part at the end of the day.
Yeah, like
It's
it is effective. Like it,
Yeah.
and like immediately contrasting Cyberpunk's opening with Starfield's, it is night and day. Like, and some of this maybe is revisionist. I'm not sure, but like just the setup of you being in like a tiny space and talking to people, like learning how to read emails, learning how to move and walk around, equip weapons and whatnot. It's all done in like a very accessible 1, 2, 3, 4 type patterns. Like, okay, do this, do that, do that. And then you get to the point where it's like, okay, you're about to get into like a combat mission. In universe, it's like, hey, you want to brush up on your combat skills? Take this Militech chip and stick it in your head or whatever. And you can just say no and ignore it because like either you've done it before or you don't want to do a tutorial, or you can go through the tutorial where they actively sit you in a virtual reality thing, have you go through all the drills. Like, hey, this is how stealth works. This is how melee fighting works. This is how all of that is just explained. And I did all that stuff because I didn't remember it. And I had a really good time going through that first mission. And this was stuff I'd done already. But like it still felt so much better, so much more entertaining. I was so much more drawn into everything it wanted to show me in a way that Starfield just didn't do at all. Like Starfield is really hopped up on this idea of mystery and like built that into its game. Like not just its story, but like its game is a mystery to players. And like I don't know if that was the right call. But yeah, I'm liking Cyberpunk 2077 right now. Again, I haven't got super far. I definitely didn't get to anything brand new. I know there's like car chases and stuff in it, like car combat, which wasn't in the original game. Like the police system has been overhauled because that really sucked the first time around. Like they would just appear out of nowhere, and then you would like shoot them, and then that would be the end of the conflict. Like it was not very GTA at all.
Yeah.
And it definitely seems more stable. Like the first, I played this game on my Series X. It was like the first game I played on my Series X. So like I didn't have a ton of issues, just like weird things here and there. But one of the first things I remember is in the beginning, in the early game, you're at like a noodle stand talking to the character Jackie, and like he tells you to call your car, like it'll automatically drive towards you. And when I did that the first time, that car mowed through like a bunch of people across a sidewalk in the background while I was at the noodle stand. And I was like, what the hell's going on? And realized it was I did that. The second time, it very casually strolls up to the block and parks on the side of the street and waits for us to walk over. And I was like, oh shit, they fixed something. So like just little stuff like that, I guess, has improved. So I can't wait to see what else comes because I'm really excited about the Phantom Liberty DLC.
Yeah. Makes me want to jump in.
Me too.
I'm trying to think. I didn't talk about Lies of P last week either, did I? I don't know.
Did you?
I don't know. I might have. I don't
I mean,
remember.
you're about to now.
I guess I will. I guess I
regardless.
will talk about it now.
I want to hear
spent,
about it.
yeah, I spent a lot of time playing that game, so I'll talk about it again anyway. Lies of P is great. It's fantastic.
Okay.
It's if you don't know what it is, it's a Soulsborne clone. Like it very heavily borrows from the From Software formula, but it does so as if they really understood what makes those FromSoft games work as well as they do. Like I really felt like they nailed every piece of that puzzle. Um, like the feel of the game, like it's a dark and dangerous world, but it's super intriguing. Like the NPC characters are mysterious, but you want to know more about them. The combat feels great. The level design, it starts off a little small. Like it does the Dark Souls thing where like you can loop back around to like your checkpoints and whatnot. But in the beginning, it feels like everything's using this checkpoint, this one checkpoint. But later on, like some of the areas get much bigger, and there are several areas. Like there's a lot of variety in the places you go to over the course of that game as well. And like I really really liked almost all of the boss encounters. Like even the ones that were like beating my ass, and I had to like get back and deal with over and over and over again. Like once I could see what the boss was doing, which only it takes time in these sorts of games. I was really having fun trying to perfect that fight and like get through to the end of it, because like it really felt like no matter what my actual build or weapon was, you can get to the point where you can just beat a boss with anything should you get good enough, right?
Yeah.
And I really like that sort of design where it's like my stats weren't hamstringing me more so than my personal ability.
Yeah. That sounds good. It sounds great.
Yeah, it was
Stop
great. I had a great time.
Games that I now want to play because I don't have enough time to play all these games.
Yeah.
But I want to play all of these games.
Yeah, it's rough. I still haven't even gotten to go back to Armored Core 6, which I was enjoying the hell out of before I had to do this review, but I'll go back. I'll go back eventually.
Yeah. I've got opinions on that game.
On Armored Core?
Yeah,
feel free. Go into it. I haven't been able to go back to it. You said you don't want to?
No, I don't. Yeah, I don't like Armored Core 6.
Ooh.
Are you going to call it Armored Core?
Me and a friend of mine figured out why. So like I cannot gel with it. I feel like a PlayStation 2 game that they've just put a different coat of paint on. Design wise, I think like it's very rigid and very it's narrow in its focus, which is good, which we can commend, because I think focusing on one thing and doing it really well is commendable. I just don't think it's very well balanced. But we figured out why I think that. And it's because I'm colorblind. There's, as far as I could tell, because I haven't gone back and looked because I didn't discover this until I stopped playing. But a friend of mine who's a fellow designer was like, I was explaining what I don't like about it, and they were like, "Oh, I keep getting hit by things. I'm finding it hard to dodge things. I'm finding it hard to like tell signifiers and stuff like that." And they were like, "Are you seeing like the UI elements that are like telling you attacks are coming and stuff like that?" And I was like, "What UI elements?"
Oh,
it's because they're all red.
Yeah,
and
that is true.
I can't see red when it's on gray. So I can't see any of the signifiers for attacks coming.
Oh, that sucks.
That aren't, them swinging their big arms, and a lot of them they like flash before.
Yeah, it's like a square lock-on symbol.
I cannot
It'll like
see
flash.
that.
There'll be like a little bit of sound, but yeah, it's mainly that flash.
Yeah, I can hear the sound, but I don't have that additional visual signifier.
Yeah. Oh, that sucks.
I can see it if I try, but obviously, as you know, they come out incredibly quick.
Yeah.
So my brain can't process it, and I haven't gone back and checked, but I'm pretty sure there's no colorblind mode. So
yeah, I've not looked, so I can't confirm.
There could be. I'm not going to claim that there isn't, but I'm pretty sure that there isn't.
I'm assuming that's something you generally like. Just any game you boot up, you just go check for it.
No, I don't. Actually.
Oh, you don't.
So it's not really a problem in most games because most games don't use flashing red stuff as a signifier, and if they do, the rest of the game's palette is quite diverse. So my colorblindness is Protanopia. I can never pronounce it correctly, but basically, I'm red-green colorblind, and colors that are similar shades, they blend together, and I can't see them. So if you put like a red and a purple near each other, or red text on black background, I cannot see it. My eyes just blend it all together, and I can't see it. It's the dark grayness of Armored Core, which I think does look pretty for an entirely gray game.
Yeah, I agree. Like it does have that as a theming,
It's an aesthetic,
but
yeah,
but like
for sure.
it fits that world and it does look good.
But yeah, usually I don't change colors because if I put it on Protanopia mode, color blindness for games, it changes all of the red things to like purple and all of the green stuff to like this sickly yellow, and it just looks bad in my eyes. So I never usually need it. It's not like a hindrance to me. So I just like don't bother because I want to see it how they intended. But this game, it was a problem. So that's accentuating my dislike because I'm finding it extra hard. Because I can't see a lot of the signifiers. But yeah, it's I was not enjoying my time with it at all.
Oh, that's unfortunate.
Yeah.
As I see Lampy fire up Armored Core in the background of my PC.
Yeah, check. I want to see if it does have one.
Oh, it does have one. Okay. So I don't know. Maybe if you give that a try, it'll change your opinion on it. But you said there were other issues.
Yeah, and give it a go.
Or was it mainly just that perceived difficulty spike based on that accessibility issue?
Well, Lampy is raising something because we had a Patreon, top tier Patreon hangout sesh, and like shout out to everyone who's there. Check out Escapist on Patreon, and Lampy said something really interesting because we were discussing the difficulty because me and Lampy have similar opinions on Armored Core. And Lampy describes the difficulty curve as a sine wave, so it just goes up and down, up and down.
It does.
Up and
that
down.
is a very good explanation.
The basic missions where you're just killing mooks are like a cakewalk, and there's no difficulty at all, and you get to live out that fantasy. But then you get to bosses, and you kind of need to have a specific build, or you cannot fight that boss. And that is not great. In my opinion, that's a weird way to like. What are you going for? Are you going for mech fantasy, or are you going for build diversity, spread it out, and like get it to a point where you need to min max your build to try and defeat things? It's like,
it's kind of those different missions are definitely very different feeling games, right? Like one is like have fun, experiment. And then the other one is like figure this out.
I'm really into Berserk at the moment. And when I got Armored Core 6, I was at like the peak of my Berserk love. And I was like, I'm going to make a mech that is just guts. I'm going to have a cannon arm and a giant sword and like rockets that are like his bowgun. And I'm like, I'm just going to be guts. And for the first like quarter of the game, I was getting away with that. I was like dodging and weaving, going in, cutting mechs in half. And I was like, I'm living that fantasy. And it's like, this is so cool. My friends were doing it by making like tank mechs where they couldn't really fly and they would just had tank treads and were just massive cannons. They were living that fantasy. But I got to a boss and my build could not defeat him. Like it was, it just wasn't possible. And that may be a combination of I was also struggling because of my colorblindness. But as soon as I changed my build and bought the specific thing that could counter one of his shields, I beat him. And I was that's not fun. That's not fun. Like it turns it into like a shit puzzle where I have to replay the entire mission once I figured that puzzle out to then attempt to beat it again. And
I get that. Like,
but yeah, it's a weird balancing.
I do actually find that sort of combat puzzle to be entertaining. Like I like the idea of you need certain tools and then you need to use those tools after you understand what this boss is.
I would agree if the levels were designed in such a way to make that accessible. So an example is one of the bosses I was just stuck on. I can't remember the name of him, but he's the guy who has like the rocket belt and he's like
about
you destroy a generator. Yeah, that one. A lot of people struggle with this boss, me included. So you fight a a rival AC before you go into that boss fight.
Mhm.
And if you have the equipment that is good against the end boss, that AC is quite difficult because he can dodge a lot of the like the little bubbly attacks that you do with the
The
specific
pulse,
gun.
whatever.
But after you defeat that AC, there is no way for you to change your build. If you want to then change your build to tackle that next boss, you have to intentionally die to that boss to be able to change your AC, which doesn't feel good. And it's like,
Yeah.
why can't I do that when the little supply pods come down and I restock my ammo? Why can't I switch some things out and do stuff there?
I think that is a very Armored Core specific thing where like the real end game for Armored Core is to be able to build an all-purpose mech like you who has like the information of like what's coming and information of like how the mechs and their pieces and parts work are like, okay, I can build a mech that can handle anything. So you go from beginning to end on a mission, you know, conserving as much ammo as possible, killing as many things as possible, taking as little damage as possible, and then you get the S rank. That
Oh yeah,
proves that you
100%.
right.
And that's what I mean by it being a very like 2005
Yeah,
PS2 thing. Like
yeah, I see that.
things like that were built like that, and I get that. But going back to Starfield, it's that same idea of, okay, well, if that's the fantasy and that's the fun, you have to play for like 25 hours before you can even have access to that. So am I just not going to have fun until I get to that point? But each to their
No,
own.
that's true.
When my friends tell me, I have some friends who are like really into mechs, and they're obsessed with these games, and they really like this new Armored Core. And it's not like I'm not judging them for liking it. I understand why people enjoy this game, and I get the play style, I get the kind of thought behind it and why people enjoy it. But I just don't like it personally. It's like RTS games. I don't think RTS games are all bad, but I just don't like them personally, and that's okay. I don't think they're badly designed in any way. It's just a different
sense.
playstyle.
Yeah, it makes
different
sense.
way of playing a game. It's just not for me.
Like I won't judge you too harshly on that. But yeah, I think that's all I can think of in terms of like stuff I've been playing. But Jamaid or Jesse, you guys can feel free to go into your lists.
What have you been up to, Jesse?
I have been playing Bloodborne for the first time.
Yes.
For the first time. I thought you played that already. Okay, interesting.
No, I haven't.
What brought this on?
It's
You playing that on Jack's PS4?
yes, I am on my
Nice.
autographed PS4. Yeah, my partner and I started that, and yeah, it's really good. I mean, oh my gosh, hot take, it's really good.
Yeah, right.
Who'd have thought?
Yeah,
After all these years.
yeah. I've only beaten. I think I beat a third boss. I beat the cleric, or the bridge, big hairy monster thing. Celtic.
Yeah, the cleric
not
beast.
Celtic. Cleric beast. Yeah, and Father Gascoigne.
Yeah, Gascoigne's a fun fight.
Yeah, that's basically the first level, effectively. Yeah.
Okay, so I've gotten that far, and like, yeah, it's really fun. Like, it's really good. I started with the threaded cane, which
Yeah.
people were like, it's not the good one, and I was like, I don't know, looks like fun, so
It looks
whatever, I'm
badass.
doing
Though.
that. Yeah, no, it's a good weapon because like the range, your arc on the whip mode is really good for crowds.
Mhm.
That's
Yeah.
what I learned, and like, oh,
Yeah,
okay, it's
they're all
not super.
quite good at doing all those things. Like they did a real good job of balancing those opening weapons. Like I've always been an axe, the switch axe enjoyer. Just because I like how it you get a lot of wide range on that. Like the extended mode is a massive sweep.
Mhm.
But the cane is the most baller of the three choices. You look more like a pin. So that's
Yeah,
what
you
want
already got the hat, so like you need
yeah, right. You got the hat. You want to get the cane, right? For sure.
Yeah, it's really fun. I would, but that's coming from it also, and this might color my opinion of Lies of P. I played the demo of Lies of P, and then played Bloodborne, and I think the comparison is a bad comparison.
I will say, apparently, there was something wrong with the feel of like dodging and movement in that demo. Like a lot of people were saying, like I hope they fixed, like because dodging was like effectively useless in the demo or something. I never played the demo. I only played the release version.
Yeah.
And I never had an issue with the feel of dodge. So like there's possibly a change that happened between the demo and the game.
I'm not sure. I mean, I didn't think dodge was like the smoothest thing ever, but like I don't think that was my problem
Hmm.
because like I dodged things, not always effectively, but like I'm not a great Souls player. Like that's not that's not a strange or unusual thing. Or like, oh, the game must be off. I can't believe I got hit. No, that's on me. I am bad. But like just the feel of it, the level design, it feels like almost a, especially comparing to Bloodborne, like a first pass of the level design and level like look compared to Bloodborne.
Hmm.
Like there's just so much less, so fewer interesting things to look at. And like it's just kind of like, yeah, it's totally it's I think the best comparison is it's if you told AI art to draw a gothic city and that's the level design. There wasn't a lot of like the little nuances that really sold me on it.
Hmm.
It was like, yes, that is a towering cathedral. Thank you. That is a fountain. Cool. We're hitting all the highlights here. Um,
It is a very it is derivative in that way. It's like, yes, this if it's in a From Software game, you're gonna find a version of it in Lies of P. Like they follow its Bible very closely. But I personally thought they pulled off a lot of that stuff. Like
yeah,
there are some levels that have like really good looking environments. Some of the less dreary looking ones, I think, but more so the more what's the word? The more like fancy ones, I guess. Like there's like a church that you go to. There's a opera house. There's like a exhibition center. Like that stuff definitely has a lot more personality than like that opening train station and some of the city streets and whatnot. Uh, but I can see what you're getting at though. Like yeah, like there's like a shared color palette, and just yeah, a very generic vibe of like this is what it means to be a sad Souls game
yeah,
in the start of that.
yeah. That's kind of the what I was getting from it. But yeah, Bloodborne, just really good. I'm excited to play more of it.
It
Oh,
is really
Like
good.
you've not experienced anything yet.
I,
I'm really excited for you to play more. I want to hear your
yeah,
thoughts on the rest of it. It's yeah, there's a lot of stuff coming. There's a lot of variety as well in how Bloodborne displays its kind of Victorian London fantasy, weird gothicness, and the bosses are really cool. What's your opinion on Blood Vials?
okay. When I started, I hated them because I need my Estus flask as a crutch. And
I
that
think we
like
all do.
and I was like, no, I can't, because I played Demon Souls, and I was like, ooh, this is tough because you have, all the different crests, and if you use them, they're gone. And yeah, I was immediately not a fan of that, and I was dying to the cleric beast, and I was like, fine, I'm just gonna go grind this out. There's lots more to explore, which I feel like is a very good part of the design. Is like to get to the cleric beast, I saw like four paths I didn't take, and so I was like, this is too tough. I'm just going to go explore these paths. In doing that, I'll get not souls. I'll upgrade my character. I'll try the blood beast again at some point, and then it might work out better.
Yeah.
And like, yeah, there was such cool stuff in there. I found a giant pig. I found the shortcuts. Like, I accidentally wandered into Father Gascoigne and was like, you look like a friend. I'll approach you. And then the boss fight starts, and I'm like, shit, I have 5,000 souls on me. Like so there was so much about that. And then in that, I ended up netting a whole bunch of blood vials.
Mm.
And in that I learned how to counter with the pistol.
Hmm.
And now I can get those guys with the bricks who drop two blood vials every time. So I'm able to have a whole bunch. So right now I was immediately not okay with it. I am now okay with it with a big asterisk of that might change when I hit a wall.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because your description there makes me feel like that necessity to go and explore more is obviously a very FromSoft thing and is very intentional, but I think that's driven more by the not souls than the blood vials themselves. The blood vials themselves are like a byproduct, but
Mm.
you going out and then being able to come back to fight the boss, you could have still had that experience if there was Estus Flask, rather than having to farm more, because
Yeah,
at the
more
moment
blood vials,
you
yeah.
don't have a necessity to farm them, because
Right.
when you get later into the game, enemies rarely drop blood vials, and
Oh.
you will have to load back into, like, the common thing is to load back into Central Yarnum and then go and kill those trolls and just do that a few times till you've got more. That is not fun.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
not.
that's
That's
not
just not
fun.
fun.
So yeah, I'm interested to see how your opinion may or may not evolve as you get further into the game. But yeah, I completely understand your side of it currently. That's it's cool that it's facilitated you to go and explore and experience more of the level design. That's awesome.
Yeah, which as a game design thing, I think that was really neat. That
Yeah.
like if I was able to just take out that boss, that I would be rewarded with advancement, and that I wasn't, I was rewarded with all this other stuff. But
Yeah.
sounding what it's like later, all right, sounds like that design kind of fell apart towards the end, if that's how they handle it.
Yeah, it's just
Yeah, there's a
it's an annoyance. It's like an extra little stress layer when it's like, okay, you have X amount of blood vials on you and X amount back in like holding. So when you die, it'll automatically restock what you have.
Mhm.
But knowing it's like, all right, I only have one more chance at this boss before I have to like either
go and farm.
go in with less health the next time I lose or go and
Right.
farm more stuff. It's like that becomes just an unnecessary stress factor. And again,
Yeah.
that can already stress you out pretty badly.
Yeah, it can.
But it's still a fantastic game, I think.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I do know that stuff. I know the visuals change as you gain more focus, I think.
Insight.
Yeah. The insight, yeah.
Yeah, insight. And so but I'm not sure if anything else changes other than the visuals.
I
Yeah, no
say
spoilers.
keep going. Yeah, keep going that route, and
Yeah.
and then report back what you find.
Yeah, yeah. Which
Very
tells you
excited for
everything
that.
you need to know, basically, but
Yeah.
also nothing. So have fun.
Yep.
But yeah, anything else?
I think that's mainly all I've been playing, or is Bloodborne, and then yeah, Dokkan. Oh well, it's not. Did it come out? Hang on. Talk about something else. We'll see if my video dropped on Escapist yet or not, because I think the embargo was today.
Okay. What you got, Jimmy? Anything you've been playing?
Not a lot recently. I've been Omega extreme busy, probably the busiest I've been in a very long while. I think I can talk about this. I think okay, well, I might get like a slap on the wrist for this.
Nobody watches the show. It's fine.
What are you on about? There's a whole bunch of people watching right now.
I'm just
not
trying to get,
18
I'm just trying to
people
get you to
here.
say it.
Okay, well, people who are in here, I'm pretty. As soon as you said that, 3 more people just joined the chat. So, okay, so people in here who are escapist lot, you might be getting a sneak peek knowledge at something. Don't tell Nick. So, Design Delve is becoming an animated show in the ZP style, and I've been working hard this week or the last few weeks on getting all the assets, animating the new show. We also just changed to animating in After Effects rather than Photoshop, so they're actual animations now. That process is way more complicated than any of us anticipated. So
Wow.
I've been doing like 16-hour days this week. But yeah, I've been working on that, and the first episode's on Starfield, so I haven't really been able to play anything. And that extends, guys. The video's done and should have been out on Friday, but Nick's on holiday, so he hasn't uploaded it. So look forward to that, Escapist members.
Nice.
But I haven't really been able to play anything because I've been doing that. But what I have been playing, and I've really fallen in love with, which is something me and KC share, is Monster Hunter.
Yeah, I was gonna say I've definitely seen you
Ooh.
log into Monster Hunter Rise over this past
Yeah.
week.
I've been in for like a few hours in the evenings. I've been able to just relax by finally tackling Sunbreaker. I had a lot of hours.
Good.
I played so much of Rise. I think I went through all of it in like a few weeks and put like 100 hours into it over like a few weeks, and all of my friends did it, and we kind of burnt ourselves out because Sunbreaker came out after we just finished that. I got to like Hunter rank 140 or something.
Goddamn.
And then I was just like, I'm done. So Sunbreaker came out, and I was like, I'll touch that another time. And something reignited that love for me. Which Wraithbow, that's why I said Switch Axe when I was talking about Bloodborne.
Yeah,
because
I peeped that too.
got it on brain. But yeah, I'm gonna say it. I think I like Monster Hunter more than I like Souls games.
I think they share a lot of the same like mechanical
DNA.
feel. Yeah.
Yeah, and I just absolutely love them. Big asterisks on that because I think one of my new videos is going to be Monster Hunter is my favorite franchise, but I hate it because there are so many tiny designs in Monster Hunter that are just infuriating. Like, absolutely infuriating, and a lot of it comes down to the fact that the designers are from Japan and their culture is very different and the way they design games is very different compared to the West.
There's a very lengthy legacy there too, right? Like they probably have been doing certain things just
Huge,
for a
yeah,
long ass
and
time.
the Japanese culture is very well known for their heritage and trying to stay doing the same thing, and I think sometimes that can be regressive, especially in game design and other ways. But yeah, there are so many things that I hate, and I'm like, there are moments where I'm like, this game would be one of the most epic games visually and feeling if it wasn't littered with this absolutely god awful UI. Like, there was a time where like, I was fighting this monster and it was flying over me, and it was like one of those moments. Do you know when you move the camera just right and it just looks like a movie, and you're just like, this is perfect? And I was like, oh my god, this is great. And then I realized I was looking at this much of my screen because I play Hunting Horn, so half of the screen
it's just musical notes and
just bollocks. And I was like, this is grim. Like, this is actually grim. And yeah, there's loads of other things, but I think I might turn it into a video because I think it's an interesting discussion to talk about, like how Japan are doing things differently and how sometimes that isn't the best, but sometimes it is. So I think that's an interesting thing to talk about. But yeah, I've been playing a lot of it, and I think I've just finished Sunbreaker. As much as you can finish Sunbreaker, as in, you get past Hunter rank 6 and then you go into the scaling one. Yeah, I've just gone through that yesterday. And damn, that game's good.
It's really good.
Yeah, I really dig it.
Like it was a game that doubled down on like that new movement mechanic, the wire bug, and like the attacks that came along with it were so much fun in the base game. And they went like, people seem to really like that. Let's turn it up to 11. And just like gave you so much more ability to utilize that particular skill set, and it makes the game so much freaking fun.
Yeah, and it's fantastic, and they've added things where you can basically play multiplayer levels but have AI with you, so you can continue to progress with your friends. I think like something Teriel said in chat is that World and Rise have kind of moved to more of a modern way, and they're trying to reach out into the West and stuff like that. Have you ever tried to go back and play like a PSP or even Monster Hunter Generations on the Switch?
Not recently. I did
It's
play a little bit.
It's actually embarrassing because like none of it makes sense. Like the controls are out of whack. It's similar to what you're talking about, like Tokapon Kingdoms. It's like nothing is explained. And even if you Google it, it's like, well, you should know how to do this because it's been the same since 2001.
Right.
It's
yeah,
like,
I needed a human playing with me back then to like explain what was happening, like what I should have been doing, because the game was not saying.
Yes, I do agree that they've tried to move to a more modern sensibility and westernize it with World and Rise, but multiplayer is such a huge thing. Like, do you guys remember, if you've played World, where to play a mission multiplayer with someone, you'd have to go into the mission by yourself first to see the cutscene, then people could come in with you, or you could go join them. It's like everything is so backwards. And
it's a game that's been multiplayer forever now, and like they just don't build it with that in mind.
And I think they're moving towards that. I'm really excited to see what they do next, because the idea of in Sunbreaker that you can play the multiplayer missions but with an AI team of followers is what the game should just be. Like, the game should be a multiplayer game and built for multiplayer But when you don't have people, there's AI with you, and maybe if you want to do it solo, you can do like challenges and turn them off if you want and stuff like that. Because putting a barrier to playing with your friends is like just not a good idea.
Mhm.
On a
Like,
multiplayer game.
yeah, but the game series does do a good job of like going. There's this curse that I have that whenever I start playing Monster Hunter, there's like a couple of my friends who start playing with me, and we're at the same level. And then a bunch of my other friends go, "Oh yeah, we'd like to play as well." So then we have to go back to like catch them up, and then another person comes in, so we have to go back to catch them up, and we like never progress. But I feel bad going like, "Fuck off, go play by yourself. I want to progress." So there's this curse of just like never progressing. But yeah, it does a good job of making it rewarding though still to those higher players to going back and helping those friends, because you still get progression on your levels, you still got monster parts that are going to be useful to you. There's so much that it does right, and there's so much that it does wrong, and I think that's fascinating.
Yeah,
And I
it's
wish
just a
more
lot.
people played
Yeah,
it because it's so good.
there's a lot of baggage in that amazing package.
Oh yeah, definitely. There's a fuck ton of baggage for sure.
Is the it doesn't tell you, but like 1/4 of your attack moves, like combat, is that part of the bad?
So there is the in the older ones, it's a lot harder to find this information, but like in Rise and World, which are the more modern ones, they're in the menus. There are ways for you to look up your skills. There's a training area where you can get each weapon out, and it will tell you on the screen the different combos. And it's not teaching you everything. There's like little nuances that you'll have to figure out. That's fine. It's
Mhm.
just like so. The example is in World, which I have like hundreds of hours in. I was obsessed with that game. I mained in World Insect Glaive because I love the vaulting and jumping and all of
Super
that.
fun.
And
Mm.
then I bought Generations on the Switch because I was like, I'm going to play this and I'm just going to complete it solo by myself, handheld. It's going to be great. I could not, someone who had put hundreds of hours into using the Insect Glaive, I could not figure out how to do the basics of using it in Generations and those older games because it's completely different. Like how it's used and how you attack and how you move and everything is completely different. And it's so weird. It's so weird. I don't know if there's any like Monster Hunter, huge Monster Hunter fans who've been with the franchise for years, and like understand those controls, but it seems so backwards. Like it's so strange.
Yeah, I think there were a lot of changes for World to kind of update some of like just the mechanics, and the fact that it moved to a proper console after coming off of the handheld, which didn't have like a second stick,
Yeah.
was also like very helpful.
Yeah, it's so weird. Well, but like where it is now with World and Rise seems like the perfect place for it to be. Like it feels natural to play on two analog sticks and like
Yeah.
using it on PS4 or 5 and stuff like that. And it makes sense. But yeah, it's a huge issue. I do like the changes though that Rise has done to update the weapons. You were talking about the switch skills and
Yeah,
like
those
bugs and
wire
stuff like
bug
that.
skills.
So much to like really ramp up the pace of Monster Hunter, and I really like that, especially with in world. I use the Insect Glaive and the Hunting Horn because in games I really like to heal and support, and it's one of the only ways you can do that. Um, and in Rise, they completely changed the Hunting Horn's moveset to make it like a viable, like really good melee weapon, and make singing the songs really accessible and quick. And I'm in love with it. Like now in Rise, all I do is play Hunting Horn. Like I love it, and I've built my class entirely just specced out to heal. So we have every time I play with my friends, they have a dedicated healer who just like obviously I'm
I
fighting the
gotta get into
monster, but as
some
I'm
Monster
fighting
Hunter
them, I
with you,
heal
man.
them. Yeah, dude, I'm down. I'm always down. Anyone can drop me a message and be like, "Let's play some more fun."
I wanna say I wanna do it too, but I'm gonna be that one that brings you down because I haven't.
Yeah,
put
I'm
as many
definitely not
hours
level
into it.
100
There
or
are
whatever.
weapons you can play Hunting Horn. If you play Hunting Horn badly, you're still adding benefit to the team.
I can play Hunting Horn badly.
Yeah, it's fun. Like if you like monsters smashing into each other and like just like kaiju shit
Do
and like jumping all over the stuff, you will you will love Monster Hunter. It's not enough. Well, it's a massive franchise, but not enough people I know are playing it. It's so good. I love it. But yeah, that's enough
Rise
about
is
me
fun.
gushing about Monster Hunter.
No, it's
I
fine. This
love
whole
and
show
hate
can be a
that
Monster Hunter appreciation show, as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah,
But yeah, I mean, does that wrap things up for you then, Jermaine?
Yeah, I mean, I've been reading Berserk. I'm obsessed with Berserk. I used to be able to get each. So there's a stack of them there.
yeah.
One's upstairs because I'm reading it, but up until issue 8, which is like 8 of the deluxe editions, I could get them same day delivery. So I could finish a book and press a button, and the same day the next one would be here. But I hit volume 9, and then it was like, oh, you want this next one? Oh, that's going to be 3 weeks. I was like, what?
Dang.
And everywhere else I looked, it was like 3 weeks to up to 2 months delivery.
Wow.
And then, but the next one, issue 10 up through 14, next day, same day delivery. It's just issue 9, so I've had to wait 3 weeks. So I've been, and when it got here, I was doing my 16-hour days trying to finish this bloody video.
Couldn't even
So I
enjoy
couldn't
it.
read it. Yeah, it's been a struggle, but my God, that series is so good. I love it.
Nice. So we're going to move on to our first topic. And again, these probably won't take super long. This is kind of just an update to stuff that we've already talked about. If you haven't heard about Unity's runtime service fee, which kind of set the just the game development world ablaze with pitchforks and torches aimed at Unity's head. They basically apologized for the way that they announced this fee, and then released an open letter sort of changing some of the implementation. So like, it's not going away, at least not entirely, but they have changed some of the details of it. I don't know if you guys have seen this, but I'll go over kind of some of the big things that have changed. And the first stuff is this 20-cent fee that would basically hit every install of a Unity-based game past a certain threshold. Apparently, they are waiving it entirely for their free tier. So if you use the free version of Unity, I think you won't have to pay this.
But there's a higher percentage cost for
Right.
the free version, correct?
I think so. Yeah, like what they're doing is, like, rather than the raw fee on number of installs, you can either choose to have them take like a revenue share, like a certain percentage after a certain amount, or that fee, and then that fee has a cap, I believe. In addition to that, like, this entire fee thing won't start when they said it would, which would be January 1st, 2024. It'll instead go into effect sometime later, and it'll only affect stuff released from that point forward versus stuff that has already been released, and then they retroactively bill from like that date. And,
Yeah, which
and
is
then-
the logical thing to do, right?
Yeah.
Not backwards charge everyone who agreed to a different terms of
right.
service.
Yeah. So
That's-
mhm. So that's one thing that they did.
That's still rough for people that are like, okay, so this would start at X date. But that's rough for the people who, like, because it's any game released after that date, correct?
Right. Yeah.
So someone who's been building a game in Unity for 2 years and is
Oh,
going to
yeah.
release it a day, a month, a year after that, yeah, they've got a whole new thing they have to deal with.
Right. Or the worst version is now they feel like they have to crunch to kind of get something in before that deadline or something, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
and your time is better spent crunching to port to a different engine. Like, just go to Unreal or Godot or RPG Maker. Like, just port it. Which is I say that lightly. It's a gargantuan task to port games from engine to engine. But
As someone who's moving from Photoshop to
to
the
After
other
Effects.
one, yeah, it's like how big that is.
Oh, it's huge. Yeah, it's a huge task. But yeah, I don't know. I think the damage they've done is irreparable. Like,
I agree.
Unity are doing this because they've been losing money for a long time. Like, they want more money. They need more money to keep their engine business going.
But what's the reason for that? Like Unity is as an engine has been kind of ubiquitous with indie development. So I don't think that there's a shortage of people making use of it, right? So like kind
No,
of
it's just a shortage of how much money they're making and how much money it costs to develop an engine. So if you look at Unreal Engine,
mhm.
they are basically it's a meme, but their entire engine is supplemented by Fortnite. They made so much money, that's what basically led to the advent of Unreal Engine 5. Why it's such a leap, because they have all the money to put the time in to get it to the point where it needs to be and still keep it free, which it is. I saw Unreal posting shade about the Unity thing, basically saying,
Yeah.
"Hey, we've only got percentage, and if you make $1,000,001, you're only going to owe us 1 cent, and like that's it, and it will stay like that." Like they can afford to do that.
Yeah.
Unity can't, because they make money off of it, but it's not enough, and they
But
spend so much money developing endings.
that's the thing for me. Like why is it not enough? Like I feel like a lot of companies like this, especially ones that are publicly traded now, are like not enough should be enough in certain instances. Like the sharp increase is to appease a bunch of people who really don't actually care about the engine and who
Oh
probably
yeah,
have
for sure.
enough
It's
money already.
like you were saying, you hit the nail on the head with saying publicly traded, right? So
Yeah.
once things go like public, and once we start getting like different kinds of investments and stuff like that, especially because so many indie games, especially 2D, because Unreal sucks at doing 2D games. Unity is the king of doing 2D.
Mm.
There are a lot of really popular 2D games that have made a boat ton of money that have given percentage to Unity. But once things start getting bigger and bigger and bigger, that's when the money men start looking down and going, well, we're making all this money, but we could be making more.
Hmm.
So, and if we do that, we can do what Unreal is doing, and pushing their engine further and further and further, because Unreal Engine 5 is light years ahead of Unity in a lot of areas. And I think they want to get to that point. They don't want to be left behind. They're a competitor, effectively. They want
Hmm.
developers to use their engine. So they're like, we need to start making more money somehow, because we don't have a flagship mega game like Fortnite attached to our company. We need to make more money. And they've just been like, I'm not saying they've done it in the correct way. I think they fucked up massively. But that's why they're doing it. It's yeah, it's weird. It's weird. I think they've done irreparable damage to their brand.
Yeah, I think they might have killed Unity at this stage, and like it's to the point where like was this honestly someone's god honest idea to create more revenue? Like they thought this would work, like because like the conspiracy theory was out there that and I don't know if it was even Jesse who said it or somebody else, because Jesse says this oftentimes, that folks they'll give you like a really really bad idea, so that when they walk it back to the less bad version, that seems better in comparison, like if rather than if they had just said the slightly less bad idea up front, right? Because people still wouldn't have liked this. Oh, now I got to pay a fee for even. They also said it's the install thing is going to be self-reported versus them having a way to count installs from within the engine. So like that's another change that they made. But like like that probably still wouldn't have gone over well, but this definitely goes over a hell of a lot better than what they said in the first place.
Yeah,
but like what they said in the first place, like anyone who has the choice will not use Unity. They just won't. And anyone who was kind of backed into a corner with this will feel especially bad towards Unity. They may have to swallow it for a little bit, but they're going to be like, as soon as I don't have to use Unity, I'm not using Unity.
Oh, I've seen this on a personal level. So not only are publishers now saying you have to submit what game engine you're using, because they don't want to
take games with Unity. Oh shit.
So I on the side, I work at a university teaching game design, which we all know. We have now changed from doing a Unity module to doing a Godot module, because we don't want to teach people how to use it.
Wow.
Like we are actively changing. Like we're seeing this shift, and we're like, Godot, like I'm biased because the game I'm working on is made in Godot, but Godot is on the rise for 2D, and we've been wanting to teach Godot but haven't had the facilities because we have to teach the students Unity.
Yeah, because like an
Now we're
industry
like, well,
standard.
fuck it, let's change it. If we are giving the future of game design their tools to make new games, fuck Unity. Let's give them tools to make games in a different engine.
Yeah. I did not say that directly about the Unity pitch, but that is absolutely something I have said before.
It sounded very Jesse.
Yeah. And and someone higher up could have been like, oh, no. We'll change it. Don't worry. Maybe that was their plan, but like, yeah, it was
But like,
bad.
what a shit plan, right?
Yeah.
That was really bad. Snickersnack in chat says, I've read an interesting take in that it's mostly targeted to strong-arm free-to-play games to use their ad-serving plugin. Their current plan heavily impacts free-to-play games, and they waive the fee if they use the ad plugin.
Oh, yeah, I think I did read something about that too, where they have their own in-game ad company, and they want people to switch to it, so they'll either remove or change that fee if they use their ad company. Versus
Yeah, because they'll get a percentage from using their ads. But is that worth the damage they've done? Like
it can't be, right?
No, and the question is we could sit here and be like, conspiracy theory wise, of was this intentional to drive different amounts of traffic or to make things look better? But like, if it is, that is incredibly dumb because there are so many negatives and so many people that have pulled out. Like there have been, I saw one of the creators of GitHub was like, "This is bollocks. I'm going to create my own game engine," and like, is like, "See you in a few years." It's like, okay, well, you're just birthing competitors. What are you doing? Like,
yeah, like there were several like publishers or game development studios who were so put off by this that they were like, I'm gonna donate money to Godot. Like I'm gonna give them hundreds of thousands of dollars to help them get to a better place to help everybody else because of how off-putting what Unity just did is. Like, I mean, you probably couldn't have anticipated a reaction like that, but you had to know that this was just bad for business. Like people would not want to, like they must have heavily overestimated how vital how vital their engine is to the fabric of the video game world. And I feel like video game companies do this all the time. Like we can talk back to the big publishers. Like Sony told you to go buy a $600 console at one point. It was like, you'll get a second job to get it, was a quote from an executive. Because like they just get so full of themselves when they have that sort of success.
Yeah.
So like once again, like these guys got to get humbled. And like I love to see it, but like it really sucks for the folks who are kind of stuck holding a bag in some of these cases.
Yeah. Another thing that I heard about, and I don't know if this was like a confirmed, like, oh, we have a thing against this, but they were talking about with before this thing, and also still kind of with this thing, is if you have a game and someone review bombs you, but doing an install bomb, like
to like try
you're
to
gonna
rack up costs, yeah,
right, like we hate this woke game. I'm gonna install this on like 18 different machines, and then if we get enough people to do that, all right, cool, we're really gonna yuck up your day.
Yeah, it's a mess. It's an actual mess. And I like, in a way, as a game developer, I think in the long run this is going to do more good for the industry than it is bad. Like, this whole fiasco is getting other engines that are, in my opinion, better, more funding. It is driving people to diversify, and it's allowing publishers to think more about how these games are made, and like what engine's being used, what can we do for revenue. We don't know, in 2 years, say like the GitHub guy, he could make an engine and just be like, it's free, and it's free. Your percentage you owe me is nothing. Have fun. Donate if you want to keep it going. And then big developers will just use it and then donate a portion of their proceeds to it. And then they're like, it's done. And then Unity is fucked. Like they're just like, oh, there's a completely free alternative that's similarly like usable. People are just going to shift to that, and then unis are just going to start teaching on that, and then you're done. and then you're going to have to stand out and have the money to stand out like Unreal Engine to have a chance at being used. So I think in the long run, this is going to do more good than it is bad, in my opinion.
No, that's a really nice way of looking at it. Yeah, like because it did really seem like all of. Oh my God! Someone just sent a thing, and that sound scared me.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Dow Dodger, for the subscription on Kofi.
Ooh. You
Damn, that threw me off. That sound scared the shit out of me. I'm sorry. I don't even know if the audio picked it up or whatever. But anyway, I was gonna say, yeah, I haven't really thought about it in that way, in that like everyone kind of ganging up on this monster that has emerged out of the industry with like a wave of goodwill, right? Like we've really needed something like that in the gaming industry lately, because like with all the really good games coming out, like there was that news story posted about like kind of just behind the scenes, there's just shit ton of layoffs and like just bad business practices here. Like Unity's just another example of that side of everything. But like, hey, look, folks are like, that's too evil. Okay, you crossed the line. We're gonna go counteract it with a bunch of these good deeds and like support these other things and like, you know, like keep creativity alive. Like I that's cool. Yeah, in a couple of years, I think we'll see maybe a new indie landscape thanks to this. As weird as it is.
That would be awesome. I would love good to come out of this.
Chat said they also heard it and it also scared them. I don't know how to adjust the volume of that anywhere, so sorry. But you know what? If you guys do it more often, maybe we'll get used to it. Thanks you so much. But yeah, was there anything else we want to talk about on this? I know Jesse had a hard out. We probably will not get to the CMA stuff on Activision deal, but it was a small story anyway. We'll likely get a much bigger discussion once this is approved or like weirdly denied in like a last ditch effort. Who knows? Like this saga continues. But I think that's our show. Jimmy, where can folks find you? What do you have to show them once they do find you?
To be quick, I've got a new version of Design Delve, which is fully animated. All of the feedback we've had is basically just saying how much they love my side character, which is Ludo. And how dog. All of the feedback is just saying if you do anything to that dog, I'll kill you, which is great. Nothing on how they like the animations or how the new style's cool. It's just the dog, which known. To be honest, I expected. So yeah, check that out. It should be up today? Nick. Maybe. And check it out early, and it should be coming out on Friday? Nick. I don't know. It's coming out at some point. And I hope you enjoy it, and I'd love to hear your opinions on it. The show's evolving and changing, so any feedback you give me is going to affect the future of the show, and it's going to grow. So, yeah, check that out on The Escapist. And that's it. That's me.
Nice. Rexicon Jesse, where can folks find you?
Oh, man. Rexicon Jesse. Wherever. It's the Twitch, it's the Twitter, it's the Blue Sky. Even on the YouTubes. Doing Hidden Gems with you, Casey, tomorrow. And then we're starting something educational on Wednesday. I really want to start with Kerbal. That's what I want to do, is learn some physics.
I can get behind that. Yeah.
And then like I know we were talking about World War II. We were talking about Oregon Trail. Like there's a lot of things we can learn about. I'm very excited. And then Zelda's on Thursday. And my new 3MR is not out yet, but that will be out soon. Spoilers. I did not enjoy the game.
Oh no.
So it's not the happiest 3MR, but the two before that were, so you can check those out. War Stride and the other one that I forget the name of. Nice. And then all the stuff streaming on my channel and all the stuff that I do.
Cool. All right, check it out. And as always, you guys can find me at SigmaGears9 on Twitch, Twitter, Threads, Blue Sky, and Instagram. I'll be back later today over on the Open Party channel for Super Smash Sunday along with Superman Jeff. So join us for that. Very fun times playing the old Smash Bros. Ultimate. Over on Escapist, I think the latest thing I've done is still the Mortal Kombat 1 review, so you can check that out. I also reviewed Liza P, which we talked about earlier today, so you can check that out too if you want. Marty and I will be doing the DLC for Portal 2's co-op as we finished that game last Thursday, and we're like, it was so much fun. We're just gonna try to get as much more out of it as we can. And after that, I don't know, stuff. I don't remember most of the week nowadays. So,
That's fair.
Yeah.
Oh,
yes.
also, sorry. I have a new tabletop RPG article coming out on The Escapist, probably early this week. So check that out.
Nice. Yeah, check that out.
Yes.
And I think that's gonna do it. So thank you everybody in chat for having conversations with us. Thank you, Jamate. Thank you, Jesse. This was episode 116. We will see you all in the future. Take care. Peace.
Bye.